I thought that it was very important to participate in an event like this, mainly because it is sharing the values that I hold to heart, which is values of unity and of community and of peace and of coming together in moments that are very difficult. If we can't come together in moments like this, really, when can we come together? And to have such formidable women, leaders within their communities, leaders in their field of work is humbling. It's also very encouraging and very motivating. I think that women do have the capacity to change the world, so to be part of this panel is beautiful, and also to share the values of the organizers and to really ask Montrealers to come together in peace and in civility, I think is a message that is very important to be shared in these very difficult times.
We have mobilized and brought together today 10 women of conviction, of women leaders, mothers, grandmothers, would-be mothers, who are going to speak out on what's going on in the city. We're very alarmed by the level of violence and violence of hate directed at the Jewish community, even this morning, and also at the Arab Muslim community and their friends and allies and families. So we believe that it's about time that the voices of civil society to speak up and speak out to denounce violence, to say that we support communities that are affected by hate crime, and we believe that there is no place for hate in a city like Montreal. We are all around this table. We have our networks, we have our sphere of influence, we have our communities, many of whom are very, very recognized leaders. But what we're coming together to say is we want Montreal to be a city of peace. We want Montreal to be a city of nonviolence, and we want Montreal to be a city where diversity is a source of strength, of growth, not a source of division, not a source of conflict. And Montreal must be a city of democracy where democracy can be expressed through different voices and opinions, but in a non-violent way. And we want to join the rest of the city, of the country, of the world to denounce violent hate, particularly anti-Semitism and hate directed at Muslim and the Arab community. So I would like to invite Sharon Nelson to say a few words, because Jamaica Association has been working with CRARR on Youth Violence Prevention Project. And then afterwards, I will invite everyone here to say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. As stated, my name is Sharon Nelson, and I'm the first Vice President of the Jamaica Association of Montreal. Jam and myself are very honored to be here and to be a part of this panel, but also to speak out against hate and violence, especially the ones that we've seen today and in the past few days. We're gathered here, as indicated, to denounce this type of violence: hate, Islamophobia, antisemitism, gun violence, in the strongest forms in the city. As stated by Mayor Plante a number of days ago, this has no place in our city. We are proud to be working with CRARR on a project called By Youth for Youth, and it is against crime prevention and against gun violence. And this, having the attack today on Yeshiva Gedola, is yet another example of the gun violence. And some of the questions we ask is, where are those guns coming from? Why are they so prevalent, and why can they be so prevalent, and who is perpetrating this? We are terribly horrified by what we've seen, this hate, irrespective of what is happening across the world. We live in Montreal. We are a diverse community. We work together, we live together, we build together. We certainly can have disagreements, we certainly can have our opinions, but we work together to create and to be a better city, and that's what we want to continue to do. We want to also continue to work against hate. We've seen an increase in anti-Semitism here in Cote, Neiges, and we want to denounce that in its strongest forms. We've seen Islamophobia also on an increase, anti-Asian hate, racism against Black people in many ways here in the city, and we also are calling for people to be calm, be rational, be mindful of their neighbors, be respectful of the fact that we are a diverse community and we are here to live and work together. Again, these acts of violence, these terrorist acts of violence and horrific acts of violence, particularly in schools and on university campuses, as we've also seen, are not are not needed, are not accepted, are not warranted. And as shown today by this diverse group of women and groups, that we can come together and that we are working together to support each other and to also focus on the fact that we are stronger together than we are apart. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to pass the mic now to Melissa Shriki, of the member of the board of the Temple Emmanuel Beth Shalom. Who's here on behalf of Rabbi Lisa Grushko.
Yes, I was asked today to share maybe some of my impressions or why it is that I felt the need to be here. And throughout this morning, I've been able to exchange with many of these fabulous women, and it's not lost on me that they are all leaders of their own communities, but also active members of our community, meaning Montreal, meaning Quebec. I've had recent discussions with my friends, some of which are Arabs, some of which are Muslims, and what we have come to realize is that really when you drill down, so much more unites us than what separates us. And I think that it is imperative that we remember that when we have our discussions, that we keep space for the complexity of the situation when having discussions. But what I would really say and what I would really want to share with the citizens of Montreal is that when you take the time to have friendships, to get to know people for who they are as individuals, and that those friendships can flourish in times of quote unquote peace, it means that when you are confronted to a situation like today, that friendship, the basis of that friendship, really just makes it that much safer to have these discussions. And yes, debates are normal. Come from the Jewish community. You put two Jews in a room, you're going to have 50 opinions. But you can have these discussions and have them be beautiful, and you can learn from them and you can grow from them. And violence never has a space in those discussions. Humans, I think you'll see from all the difference of people that you have here, are very multifaceted. And that multifaceted aspect of our humanity is what allows us to be empathetic. And empathy is so important in these times because at the end of the day, we all want peace. We all want to be able to go to school. I want to be able to go to my synagogue and not have to worry about taking the little hamsa that I have in my car down. I don't need to worry about wearing my Magen David to work. I want to know that people will look at me and be like, oh, that's a beautiful Star of David, as opposed to saying, why are you wearing it? And I just hope that we can all come together and realize that that's what's important, that these discussions are what's important. And I would like to end on thanking everyone who's here today to let me be part of this discussion because it is empowering and it is very inspirational.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Farida Mohammed will speak on behalf of the Canadian Council of Muslim Women, Montreal chapter.
Thank you for inviting me here today, and I join my voices here with other women to denounce the hate, the violence, the antisemitism, the Islamophobia that's going on in our city. There is no place for hate or violence in this city. People are coming from all nations to actually live together with respect, trying to have a vivre ensemble, living together, respecting our differences. In fact, we should celebrate our differences. And the recent attacks against peoples and against institutions, when you target schools, potentially you're targeting children, and this is totally not acceptable. So I join my voices here today to say we understand the anger that's out there on the streets, that's out there in the communities. Let's face it, people are seeing really live action, horrible things happening in other parts of the world. People have families, and they worry about the security of their loved ones. And so it's understandable that there is anger. But when anger turns to hate, that's when it is not good for the health and well-being of Montrealers in general. So therefore, I have a message that anger should be channeled in the right places. Use diplomatic means, use democratic processes. That's how your anger should be channeled in order for you to help bring about a change that is lasting and beneficial for everybody. But hate should be left out of the equation. And so I'm here joining my voices with other women, speaking up against hate There's no place in our society, in our city. This is a beautiful city. Why do people come to Montreal? Because it's a gorgeous city. We love to live together here. We have to keep it that way. So, thank you.
Joan Lee from the West Side of Black Community Association, and it's very important for us to have black voices.
Thank you for having us, Fo. Thank you for bringing us together. At WIPCA, we believe all children deserve to go to school and be safe. As a mother of 2 children, it is my hope that my children could go to school, have a wonderful education, and have a wonderful environment and feel safe. And that I, as a mother, don't have to worry if my children are going to come home safe. So please, this is all our social responsibility to keep schools safe and to keep our children safe and be peacemakers, not no war, no violence, no hate. Thank you.
My name is Nida Pirapas. I'm currently the president of the Filipino Association of Montreal. Good morning. Our world has become a small village. Lots of turmoils, aggressivity, or war are taking place in several parts. In reaction, waves of intolerance between groups who identify themselves with one or another of belligerent create reactions of hatred between their respective community members. The situation is similar about integrities of each religion, using religion as a total rather than as an ideal to follow. Therefore, we witness actions of antisemitism or Islamophobia as well as Christianophobia in several parts of the world and at home. Our Creator should not be a weapon, but a gatherer and unifier. We should not forget racism between different color entities, forgetting that we are all the same human beings. First and foremost, and not to forget violence against women. Intolerance is as old as humanity's prehistorical humanoid people, and it evolved up to one time developing more sophisticated ways of aggressivity. The foundation of intolerance is fear. Fear basically from the unknown, hidden in others and strangers that are not us. It is only through childhood and adult education that can bring our society to overcome the humanity's basic instinct, is fear and mistrust among each other. It can bring us closer from Jesus Christ's command to love one another and including our enemies. It sets an ideal to follow. Our community center was being stolen. The flag of our Philippine Community Center was stolen 2 weeks ago. We are also having people burning our Philippine flag, and some are the graffitis. They spray graffitis in the door, and one time the door is broken. And 2 weeks ago also, one of my executive board was being hurt by somebody else. Just 2 weeks ago. That's it. Thank you. I appreciate everybody who are here today, for this kind of, it hurts.
Pledge and speak, but it's very important. Also the work you do.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I really appreciate everyone who's here. And I really agree with everything you said. And I want to call upon all of us to say we are agents for social change. We are not only mothers and grandmothers and sisters. We have the responsibility, and I'm looking at the city councilors, we have the responsibility in times of war and conflicts. The tension is so high. We don't want to police the students. We don't want to silence them. We have to provide them with the safe space that they can speak freely, that they can protest without violence, that they can protest peacefully, and they can really voice their ideas and their emotions. And if emotions, and I really want to say something about anger, we can't push anger out. The only way we deal with anger is to transform it into something positive. It's really, that's the way we should deal with anger, and not just to push it, because if we push it, hide it, it will come back in the next crisis that we are facing. And for me, it's really very important that the Arab student in Concordia would walk freely with her scarf without being called terrorist, that the Jewish friend of mine would walk with his own kippah in the public space without calling him names. I want this place to be a place of safety, that there is no place and there is no tolerance for any violent act, and this is upon us. Our institutions need to equip our students how to deal with this. We need to provide the spaces that these conversations will have a place. If we don't speak about it, if we push our students and our communities, we can't talk about it because it's very complicated. We can't talk about the conflict. We are not immune. We experienced it. We feel it. I am coming from a place where I'm in both. My family is in Israel. My other part of the family is in Gaza. So we cannot ignore this. It affects our daily life in Montreal. The question, what is the space that we all provide and build for our students, for our children, for our communities to be able to express their ideas peacefully and protest peacefully? Because this is one of the biggest foundations is democracy, is to stand up and protest. And we don't want to police the students. We want to help them, teach them how to protest. Thank you.
Pearl Eliadis, we're one of human rights lawyer.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here, and thank you to the women leaders who are here today to speak their voices and represent their communities. I'm not here as a community representative. I'm a lawyer, I'm an academic, and I want to express my shared grievance, grieving with those who have lost so much, but grievance against the hate that we are all seeing. We're here today because of what we share, which is our common humanity, and I hope that I don't need to remind everyone that 2023 is the year of the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I hope we're going to be celebrating it and not mourning it. Yeah. As a Montrealer, I see Montreal as a unique, multicultural, multilingual, and multi-confessional society, which includes the right not to have a religion. Events that have taken place halfway around the world have provoked anger, and I would like to reiterate the comments made about the fact that we need to recognize that anger exists. Mm-hmm. But when we are angry as a lawyer, I remind myself that there are fundamental limits to the kind of behavior our society tolerates. We cannot take sides when it comes to hate. Events that have taken place around the world have, of course, generated anger. But we're here today because we cannot be bystanders when we're faced with hate. Mm-hmm. I also want to say that I believe public officials and representatives of institutions themselves have a duty not to take sides when it comes to hate and to oppress and to oppression and to ensure that hate is oppressed wherever it may appear. I see students every day. Many of them refuse to speak out even in small classroom settings on this issue because they're afraid of speaking, they're afraid of being attacked, they're afraid of being canceled, and they're afraid of being doxxed publicly, i.e. having their public, their address, their private addresses, for example, published online. And this has happened to several of the students that I've spoken to. This is not acceptable. And when we have law students whose job is public advocacy, who are afraid to speak out, I'm worried for the future. We must work together to prevent hate, antisemitism, Islamophobia, racism in Montreal wherever we see it. Authorities must ensure that procedures for reporting hate crimes are clear, simple, transparent, and efficient. And I'm reminded from a conversation I had earlier, anyone who is a witness to or experiences hate must call 911. We must protect the rights and freedoms guaranteed by the Canadian and Quebec charters. These include equality rights, security of the person, dignity, and the right to freedom of religion. Let's not forget the right to peaceful assembly and free expression, which are constitutional guarantees, but they do not protect violent speech. They do not protect hate speech. We need to be able to hear points of view that we do not agree with, and we must respect the spaces we are occupying. We must protect each other, and I stand with the communities who have been targeted by hate speech as part of my representations today. Thank you very much.
I'm Linda Serponi, the current president of the Montreal Council of Women. The Montreal Council of Women has long been an association, 130 years we just celebrated, a very diverse and inclusive group of individuals and of organizations dedicated to improving social conditions for women and their families. The Council has for some years now been very concerned about the use of hate speech and hate crimes here in our community and throughout the country. We've been working on this for some time now to understand and counter the growing phenomenon through education and policy initiatives. We believe that everyone has the right to live in a safe and secure environment, free of threats and harassment. We also believe that we have the responsibility to take action to ensure this is so. It will not happen on its own. There are many who would be willing to add fuel to the fire and inflame the rhetoric. We must counter this by calling them out and holding people accountable for their words and actions. Recent international events have caused a dramatic increase in hate crimes in our city and across Canada, and we are devastated by the suffering this has caused many of our members and the members of the community at large. We have a responsibility to educate ourselves and others about the issues and promote listening and dialogue in our families and communities. We encourage conflict-sensitive reporting by all media to help dispel the us against them attitude. And we must hold media platforms accountable, reporting hate speech and demanding action. Speak out against disinformation and encourage others to not spread lies or innuendo. We must offer support to those members in our community who may be victims of hate crimes, listening and learning from their stories and offering solace and building bridges in the community. And we must encourage them to report these incidents to the authorities. Women have a tremendous role to play in fostering peace in our communities. We have an opportunity and an obligation to promote empathy and understanding. Whether mother, grandmother, teacher, journalist, or CEO, we must encourage our children, families, and community to keep an open mind, to listen to each other with respect. We must challenge our own biases and preconceptions. It's okay to agree to disagree, but acts of intimidation and violence are not okay and only lead to more conflict and widespread insecurity in the community. Montreal is renowned for being a cosmopolitan and diverse city, attracting people from all over the world, a great place to live and work and raise a family. Let's work together to keep it that way.
Lindy Mazzoni is the president of the
FFCAQ.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, bonjour, my limited French. I'm Luis Biminda Mazzoni, president of FFCAQ. Today, I join like-minded individuals, women, in condemning the tragic loss of lives in Gaza and what's been happening in Montreal. After October 7, the world reacted with the escalation of antisemitism and Islamophobia, protests on the streets, students joining en masse, destruction of properties, instilling fear are just a few consequences of October 7. Being a mother and grandmother, I feel the pain of the mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers who lost their loved ones and the kidnapped ones. I watch the Ukraine-Russia war at a distance and can only donate monetary help to the war. But the Gaza conflict is different. I have a lot of Jewish friends in Montreal, and I share their anguish over this conflict. Questions are foremost in their minds. When will this terror end? Will I see my loved one again? Why do this happen? Power, more wealth? Whatever the reason is, this should not happen in the modern world. How can we start, albeit slowly, this mindset of treating others differently because of race, religion? I believe that it should start with education, at home, at school, via social media. Although there's a lot of evil people that use this powerful tool for destruction and instigate hatred. We should start speaking out, not only to be heard, but to show that anti-Semitism and Islamophobia have no place. The Filipinos are not vocal either when it comes to being targeted because of our color and being Asian. We need to work as one cohesive group who will provide help and a telephone number easy to memorize that people can call. We must be always on the lookout for violence on the streets, destruction of properties, and report them. We're lucky to live in a country where diversity is welcomed and we have rights of citizens that are respected. We need to protect our children, our citizens, so everybody can look forward to a future of peace, safety, and freedom. We are one people in spite of color, religion. It's my hope that my 11 grandchildren will have a future free of conflict and happiness. Let's all go with love and peace. Thank you.
Last but not least, General Band, whom everybody knows. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello everyone, media. Thank you for having me among these fabulous women. In these challenging times, it is imperative that we come together to address the rising tide of hate, antisemitism, Islamophobia, and racism that threatens the very fabric of our diverse community. Our city has always been a tapestry of different cultures, religions, and beliefs, and it is our duty to protect this mosaic from the stains of prejudice. Our educational institutions must be sanctuaries where children, students, and staff are shielded from the corrosive effects of hate and violence. Every child deserves the right to learn and grow in an environment that fosters understanding, empathy, and respect for differences. Our Canadian and Quebec Charter of Rights and Freedoms guarantee us fundamental rights: the right to personal security, to dignity, to equality, and to freedom of speech without violence and intimidation. Montreal's strength lies in its diversity, but this strength is only meaningful when all residents feel safe, respected, and included. I'm getting so emotional. Because I have my own, oh my goodness. Bye, Mama. Oh my goodness. Oh my God, why can't I talk? Standing against hate and violence, antisemitism, and Islamophobia, we pave the way for a more harmonious and tolerant city. Let us work hand in hand, fostering safety and solidarity for all Montrealers, embracing the richness that our diversity brings to the table. Together, we can build a Montreal where everyone can thrive, free from the shadows of discrimination and prejudice. We must be a beacon of safety and solidarity for all Montrealers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I think we're all ready to entertain some, or you have enough. Yeah.
This is to any one of you. If you could get a message to one of those people who shot at the school, or any of those other acts that you're here to denounce, what would you say to that person? You acknowledge that anger is a real thing. You want them to channel it. Speak to that person, that young person maybe, that person who's very passionate, who is seeing the images that we're all seeing. What would you say? Yeah, either.
I'm going to be very short. I would like to say shame on you. I would like to say to people who have committed these acts of violence that they have no place in our society, and I would like to say none of them speak for any of us. Thank you.
Yeah, well, as a Muslim, it's not in my name. And what I want to say to him, because I'm sure it's not her, is that there are other ways, absolutely, to channel your anger. We understand the anger, we understand the emotions, and there are ways to channel this anger into a very different ways to build solidarity and be with people out there to fight for peace and for solidarity and for a safe space for everyone. That these acts are not representing us as a religion or as women or as a society in Montreal, and we denounce these acts.
I want to say to that person that it's okay to feel anger, but when you turn that anger into hate and you do hateful acts, then you're being selfish. Because you're not thinking of anybody else but yourself. You're giving way and you're venting your anger in an unacceptable manner. And there are norms here that we follow as a society. And if you want to be a member of the society, you have to live like the rest of society. So I want to say to that person, you need, when you have so much anger in you, you need to talk to members of your family or your friends or seek professional help, because that anger cannot turn into hate that causes you to do harmful acts.
I will also keep this very brief. I don't want to address the perpetrators. I would like to address their families, the people around them, their friends, their colleagues, their circle. And I would implore them to realize that there are signs when people do these types of acts. And it's not up to Jews to face and to fight anti-Semitism alone. The same way that it's not up to Muslims to face Islamophobia alone. We live in a society, people have rights, people also have obligations. And when you perpetrate an act like this, you're also making it so much more difficult for your own community. This can only create more discord. This can only create more intolerance and more being on edge where everybody is scared, where everybody's wondering what's going to happen. And if we succumb to that, if it really becomes a daily occurrence of saying, who are they versus who are we, that is not a good solution. And this will never end. This cycle will only break when we take a time to sit back, to step back, and to realize that it's not just condemning this act, it's also condemning the encouragement of these acts.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.